What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Bet Daily, Sunday, December 11, 2022. We've got a special NFL Sunday edition here, but before we get into it, Magic didn't make a pick. He's just here to gloat. So, Magic, I'll let you take this away.
Never in doubt, right? Army Navy over 32. Oh my gosh. I still this morning I woke up and checked. I was like, did that really just happen? The way it we were texting as the game was going, Aaron was like, how you feel, Magic? It's 0-0, like 3.5 quarters into the game or something. And I was like, they're fine. They're an overtime team. They're actually overtime teams. It was the first time the game I think had ever gone to overtime in the history of Army Navy. It happens on a couple of fluke plays late just to even tie it. Navy was behind the entire game. I never expected, and they ended up losing it. That was the biggest surprise, other than, how did we go from 20 to 34? Like, they scored the same amount of points in overtime that the entire, 4 quarters took. I'm thinking about changing my name, guys. Instead of Magic, you just start calling me Money, because all I do is cash with my best bets on this show.
I don't know. I think Magic might be appropriate considering that got over. I mean, you look at the 2 touchdowns in regulation, a 77-yard run. So one big play and a blocked punt, or else it's 3-3 going to overtime, and you're still epically under that total, even with the 2 touchdowns. Just wild, man. Aaron, your take, Army +3, that was good.
With 8 minutes to go in the game, Heather and I are watching this game, and she knows what Magic's bet. So she's just rooting for Magic. She doesn't care who wins or loses. She's like, there's no chance he's going to get this. I said, there's one chance. Army gets a field goal. It's 10-10. They both score in the first overtime. Or score a touchdown in the first overtime. It'll go over. She goes, there's no chance they're going to score a touchdown, even if it gets to overtime. The crazy thing, Army gets it in one play. Navy gets it in one play. It was unbelievable. When Navy ran the play, when it was 17-10, they were going to throw it. I said before I even saw the receiver, I said he's wide open. I guarantee it, because they don't know how to cover a pass. It's like, as long as he can get him the ball, they got it. And it happened. It was unbelievable. We were yelling and screaming. The most boring game ever until overtime.
Kind of makes you wonder why they didn't try that earlier, right? I mean, just throwing it out there.
When Army called a pass, it was a pass interference or a completion every time. Mm-hmm. And I never saw Navy call a pass until that one in the overtime.
They run a flea flicker in the first half, which would have been wide open. The guy just literally grabs the guy's jersey and starts pulling him back because they knew that there was no chance they were going to give up the touchdown. Rather just take the penalty than take the yards and give up the points.
Yep, it was unbelievable to watch that. Magic. We had so much fun rooting for that bet to come home.
one completion. One passing completion the entire game for Navy, and it's a 25-yard touchdown. I mean, I think that's why it worked, because the other quarterback the other guy went over 2 trying to throw it, and
that's why I told Heather, I said he's wide open. I guarantee it, because they threw. Oh my God, and the defense just creeping in the whole game, and they kind of had a little bit of trickeration to it. They faked a couple things in the backfield, and the guys just snuck out wide open. And if you notice, the guy has to wait for it, reach down to catch it. Even though he was wide open, it was still hard for them to complete it.
Just while wheel were out too, so it's a running back making that move, not a wide receiver who's going to be covered on that play. But the running back can get lost really easily, especially with all the eye candy going on in the backfield. All right, let's jump on to a big NFL day. We're going to cover Woodbine. Race number 7 is the race of the day. Get into best bets after that. But let's start out with one of Magic's 18 favorite NFL teams. We'll start out with the Vikings and the Lions here. This was an interesting game. The Vikings opened up as a 1.5 favorite. This thing swung all the way to Lions -2.5. Now we're down to Lions -2. Well, 2.5 showing up now on the board as well. Total was 52 all week. Now we're at 51.5. 52 is a key number. So that is an interesting move here on a Sunday morning. Magic, we'll start with you since you are such a big Lions fan. Who do you like here?
I like the Vikings. I like the Vikings because the difference is you've got the Lions, who were they've won 4 of their last 5. Bettors are loving them because of what they've been doing lately. Eventually, what always happens every single year as a Lions fan, this, they turn into the same old Lions. It's yes-o-well, and the problem with the Lions is that they historically always hurt themselves with penalties and with turnovers and just stupid mental mistakes. And they had some of that earlier in the year. Coach Dan Campbell seems like he fixed part of it. But they've got to face the Minnesota Vikings, who are coming in. If they win this game, they clinch the division championship outright. They're trying to get this clinched now so that they don't have to keep fighting for it. They can kind of take a little bit of a break before the playoffs and try and get going there. I really do think that the Lions at this point, I hate to sound like a downer for my favorite team, the only team I support in the NFL. I feel bad predicting that they're going to have a couple of mental errors here, but the Vikings to me are one of those teams when they win close consistently. It's through special teams, it's through offense, through defense. They're finding ways to win, and the Lions historically find ways to lose games that they shouldn't. So that's why I landed with Vikings, especially +2. I'll take that, but I'll turn it over to the experts here.
Yeah, second time in NFL history, a 10-2 team is a dog this late in the season, Aaron. Kind of surprising, but if you look at the Vikings, I thought this was really interesting. 9 of their 10 wins by 1 score or less. So if they lost all 9 of those games, they are 1-11 right now, which is kind of wild. You'd think you're going to go around 50-50. So let's say they go 5-5. I'm say 5-4 in those even. You're still looking at a 500 team here, and the Lions are sitting at 5-7 with an outside shot at the playoffs. Who do you like in this spot?
This is the makings of a crazy Sunday. I just want to say that right now. You look at these games, there are a lot of evenly matched games, big games. We saw some crazy shit already on Thursday. That being said, and with that theme, I took the Detroit Lions. I'm with Somich, and it's not so much hey, I really love the Lions. It's this Minnesota team is inflated. They are not that good. And I think a huge game for the Lions. Now, that could mean, as Magic says, they'll lose it because they have got a shot. If you look at their schedule, if they pick this game up, they have a legitimate shot to make the playoffs. They really do. They got to get this one, though. It's a huge game. It's probably the biggest game they've had in a while. I have been cashing on the Detroit Lions. Yes, let me say that again. I have been cashing on the Detroit Lions. I'm gonna ride the train, Somich, and if they buck me this week, well, we've had some luck at least. I'm on the Lions.
I don't trust either of these teams. They both are they're both hot messes. This is a dumpster fire game because you have absolutely no idea what's going to happen. I do trust Amon-Ra St. Brown. His total for receiving yards, 89.5 in this spot. This Vikings secondary made Mike White look like an all-pro last week. I would expect that they're going to have a pretty big day here through the air for the Lions. Amon-Ra St. Brown been awesome for Detroit, especially the last couple of weeks. I like his over 89.5. I kind of like the total over here too. These are 2 good offenses with 2 bad defenses. Although the Vikings are a tricky under team sometimes where you think a game should fly over with them and they just don't put up points or they kick field goals. Cousins makes mistakes. And all of a sudden the game goes under. So I'm playing Amon-Ra St. Brown over 89 receiving yards, but I'm not going to touch this game. I think it's just a tough spot here. All right, Magic, you going to join us for the rest of the rundown? You got to take off.
I'm taking off. My son, I don't know what he's doing. He's unsupervised back there. I should probably go figure out what's happening. Hey, I haven't heard him scream, and usually you'd be like, that's a good thing. Not with this kid. If he doesn't make sounds for 7 minutes, that's a problem.
Just give him that belt. He'll be a happy camper. All right, Magic.
One pride, Lions Nation. One pride.
Way to gloat and go. Have a good one. All right, we'll jump over to the Ravens and the Steelers. Steelers laying 2. Lamar Jackson officially out till Christmas here, so he's going to miss a couple games in this spot. Total at a paltry 36.5 points. They are saying there could be some weather in this spot as well in Pittsburgh. This is one where I went back and forth, Aaron. I thought you could kind of go either way here, but I ended up taking Pittsburgh and laying the points in this spot. Their offense has been significantly better the last 3 weeks than the rest of the season. You can start to see Pickett get some kind of positive momentum going. And TJ Watt's the key here. With him in the lineup, Pittsburgh's 3-1. Without him, they're 1-5. You agree with me on the Steelers here? You like the Ravens?
Good pick. I like that one a lot.
I knew you would when you reached for the pen.
I know. I always forget to have it ready. I always have to reach in my drawer to get it. Good pick. Quietly, and I mean very quietly, this team has come together. They are not horrible like we all thought they would be. Now, they definitely were bad, but they have gotten so much better, and they take on a Baltimore team today without Lamar. That's a big factor. You'd also take on a Baltimore team that every game is going to be 1 or 2 point game because they're just going to do dumb stuff, even if they're way better than you. I think it's pretty evenly matched. I like the Steelers at home in this one. The Steelers and the Lions, same boat. They've got an outside shot still. They got to get these wins today at home. I took the Steelers minus the 2.
Hell of a coaching job by Mike Tomlin, who I'm not a huge Mike Tomlin fan. I mean, I think he does. He gets his teams to overachieve consistently. I don't love his in-game stuff. But, man, if he can go – he's never had a losing season. Everyone knows that, right? If he can get this team to come back and end up 9-8, just a phenomenal job. Now, they're going to have to win 4 of the last 5, I believe. It was 4 of the last 6, I think it is, to be able to get that done. This is one of those games that's definitely winnable. Outside shot at the playoffs. It'll be very, very tough for them to make it. But just a phenomenal coaching job this year.
It has been. It has been phenomenal. And like I said, we talked about it before this season started. We're like, I think this Pittsburgh roster might be one of the worst in the league, if not the worst. We talked about it 5 weeks in. It's like, wow, they are bad. It's worse than we thought. And now look at it. Kenny Pickett all of a sudden has looked serviceable. I mean, he's still a rookie. He's still learning and not playing with a great roster around him. But still, it's a really, really good job, like you said, by Tomlin. And it's an even better job if they get this win today.
Yeah, I like it. I like the home aspect of this. It's one of those where that stadium is going to be going absolutely nuts. JL jumps in here mentioning Mark Andrews over. It's going to be one of the key matchups, that secondary versus Mark Andrews and what they do to try and control him, because there are absolutely no weapons on this Ravens team. People like on Lombardi Line this morning, they were talking and comparing Hurts to Lamar and how Hurts has turned into what you wanted Lamar to be. You've got 2 elite wide receivers on that Eagles team. You and I could go out and try out for this Ravens wide receiving core. They're that bad. And so it's just like, it's hard to knock Lamar or compare him to Hurts when you're talking about weapons and offensive line as well.
Yep, absolutely. You're right. And, they traded Hollywood Brown, who I don't think is great, but that was a guy that's a little bit better than what they've got at that receiver position. And that's the thing. Mark Andrews is a great tight end for sure. But unless you're the Kansas City Chiefs, you can't just win with just a tight end, right? So, well, I guess you can win. They are 8-4, but my goodness, they're not great.
The thing is, you can't stretch a field with just the tight end, right? Like you have absolutely no over-the-top threat when you have your tight end as your leading receiver. You need to have someone who can kind of stretch the field, and that's what Marquise Brown did for them. At least was kind of push the ball or at least take the top off the defense. All right, let's jump over to Jalen Hurts and the Eagles right now, laying 7. This has been bouncing between 7 and 7.5 for the Saquon Barkley news. He is going to play. Has a neck stinger. We'll see how good he is in this game. Total sitting at 44.5 right now. Big game for both of these teams. The Eagles really want to keep this 1 seed locked up. The Giants want to try and figure out if they can actually make the playoffs at this point. Who do you like here, Eagles or Giants?
Ooh, this is a tough one. This is a really tough one. I like the Eagles in this game minus the 7, but boy, the Giants really need to win. Talk about good coaching. They've done it very well with their first-year head coach. I could see this being an Eagles win, Giants cover type of situation. But at the end of the day, I just think the Eagles are a little more explosive. And, I just tend to lean towards them a little bit more. I think they're going to have to help the Giants out today for this game to get real close. I'm going to take the Eagles. I think they get it done unless they just stumble and don't play a very good game.
Eagles, big, especially in the first half. I like this Eagles team. The Giants were the team I was on at the start of the season, but it's smoke and mirrors at this point. And if you have Saquon injured, it just kind of gets worse and worse for him. So I like the Eagles today. I think they cover. I think they stomp them. This is going to be your most teased game of the day as well. Everyone is going to have Eagles minus a half point or -1, depending on what you're playing here, 6 or 6.5 point teasers in pretty much everything. So keep an eye on this one for that aspect as well. Giants could cause a lot of people to rip up tickets. So the game that's got bet the most today, I don't know if you've watched the lines this morning, Aaron. Browns-Bengals. The Bengals are now 4-point favorites. This is wild. This got all the way down to 3.5. There were 2 separate syndicates that hit it this morning when limits went up, and this thing went from 5.5 to 3.5 like that. Total sitting at 47. Lots of faith in Deshaun Watson coming back here second game. Burrow never beaten the Browns, 0-4 in his career, which whatever. I don't think that really matters. It's just like one of those stats ESPN loves to say. Who do you like here in this spot now that it's 4 instead of 5.5?
Bengals big. I think they're going to dominate this game. I should have done that. I didn't do the line. I was just so confused by this by the point spread there. It is interesting. I do think you do have to take some credence into the fact that they don't ever beat the Browns, and Burrow usually struggles against the Browns for some reason. And it is weird because they can just dominate a team like the Chiefs and lose to the Browns. Still, I expect the Bengals to win this game. It's a massive game for the Bengals. That may be one of the biggest difference between some of those prior Browns-Bengals games and this one today. It is such a huge game for Cincinnati. Think about it. We think Pittsburgh's going to win. So if the Bengals were to beat the Browns, they're in first place in the division all of a sudden. Bengals have a tough schedule down the road here. They need this one bad. I'm not a believer at all because of the Browns, because look at what happened last week. They were horrific in Houston. They scored every way but with the offense. I think they're still going to need some time to get everybody gelled together. I think the Bengals win this game.
Give me the Bengals team total over and the over in the game. I think people forget that this Cleveland defense isn't very good. And you mentioned that Houston game last week. I think that's one of the main reasons. They looked at you have this positive effort coming off that game. They give up points to everybody. And this Bengals team, now that they've decided, hey, we are a shotgun passing team. No shit, guys. Thanks for getting there. They've started to really put up points and gel together. I think the Bengals score at will here. So I'll take the Bengals over. I'm a little worried about the back door because Deshaun Watson, when he was in Houston, loved coming back in games like this and covering the spread but losing and getting trash points late. That's why I like the over as well. I think if the Bengals get up, the Browns could put some points on the board. So give me the over 47 here, Bengals versus Browns. Another really interesting game. We've got the Bucs heading into San Francisco. Right now, you can get either 3 or 3.5, depending on where you want to play it. So this is an interesting spot because I think if you like the Niners, you obviously want to bet -3. If you like the Bucs, you take the 3.5. Total sitting at 38. I've heard a couple people buzzing about playing under here as well. Aaron, what's your take here on Bucs Niners? You looking forward to laying points with a rookie quarterback against Tom Brady?
We've got maybe the greatest quarterback ever to play in the NFL, or at least one of the top 5s against Mr. Irrelevant in his rookie season, mind you, as well, in Brock Purdy. Tom Brady versus Brock Purdy is not something I ever thought I would see, especially this year. That being said, I think the 49ers are better at every other position on the field almost. I just feel like they're going to get it done. They're at home. The Bucs are just a train wreck. And I think if Brock Purdy just is the game manager, I think they get it done here. Crazily enough, I'm going to take the 49ers -3. That's a tough thing to say, knowing the quarterback difference, but I just think everywhere else just favors the Niners too much.
Good pick. This is one of those spots. Look, the Niners are just way better, and the offensive line of the Bucs is still demolished. This Niners defense should be able to absolutely eat. I do kind of see where the underbuzz is coming from because if the Bucs don't score, let's say they put up 10, the Niners aren't going to put up 30. This thing is going to stay under if the Bucs score sub 15 points most likely. So I think this is going to be one of those 20-10 type games where we can take the under, take the Niners. So I like both of those looks in this spot. I think the Niners are the right side here. Brady is not going to have time. It's just that simple. And this is not a great spot either, coming off a Monday night game, wildly emotional against a division rival, and they have to fly across the country and take on a really good defense. I think this is a great spot for the Niners and a pretty tough spot here for the Bucs.
Well, I'll say another thing. Your big thing, if you're going to play the over, you almost are counting on a total Bucs collapse or a Bucs points off turnovers, because you're right. How do they get above? Let's even give them 14. I don't know. They have been so bad all year long, and this is a tough challenge.
To go over, you need 23-20, right? Mm-hmm. It just doesn't seem like both of these teams put up a 2 in front of their score. And that's kind of what you'd need to take to get it over. Now, obviously, it could happen with turnovers and all that jazz, but as long as we don't have anything crazy happen here, this seems like a dead nut under.
Yep, it does.
All right, let's head to the race of the day here. We're going to go to Woodbine. Closing day up there at Woodbine. Let's head to race number, is it 7 or 9?
It's 9. It's the stakes race, right?
Yeah, race number 9, the Steady Growth $100,000 stakes race for Ontario breds here. State-bred Canadian race. Got to love that. I thought this one was pretty interesting. You've got 2 horses that are taking quite a bit of, or should take quite a bit of money. The 4-horse Artie Storm, 2-1 on the morning line, coming out 6 straight open company graded stakes, won this race last year. And the 8-horse Candy Overload, who has only gone mile 16th once in his career and ran, 6th in that spot, but is coming off a grade 2 victory, going 6 furlongs, second off the layoff here. Do you like one of these two, or are you going somewhere else?
I really like Artie Storm in this spot. This is a major class drop. Now, the last race did scare me a little bit, did not run well at all. No, a non-effort basically last time out in a grade 2 over this track. But he has come back from kind of poor performances before and ran pretty well. Like you said, won the race last year. I think this horse is the class of the field. I like the 4 quite a bit. Not a big fan of the 8 because of what you just mentioned.
Yeah, distance concerns with the 8, I think, really opens the door up for trying to make money by putting Artie Storm on top and playing some shots underneath. I had one price that I really liked. I agree with you. I think Artie Storm is the horse to beat here. I think the morning line's wrong. I would expect you're going to see Artie Storm closer to even money. What about the 3-horse? Lock Makaza. This is one where I am super interested. That last race is deceptively good, which is weird to say because if you go back and you watch the replay, has huge issues in that first turn. That's not his fault, but the horse who is inside kind of gets checked back, pushes another horse out. He ends up 4 wide on both turns. If you're going 4 wide in a mile 16th race over the synthetic at Woodbine with only 6 horses, it's really hard to win the race. I think that race looks bad on paper, but his back form tells me he's probably the second best horse in this race going a mile and 16th, and you're getting 15-1 on the morning line.
Great pick. That's my second horse. I wrote down, talk about this one. He was 4-5 in that race too, right? Yep. Which tells you, yeah, he was pretty highly thought of, and that trip just wasn't great. Now we're getting 15-1. I just think this is definitely one. It's just logical to use this horse. And again, you've got another favorite, whether it be the favorite or the second choice in the 8th, that I'm just real skeptical on. So you're right. You take shots underneath with this. I like the 3 a little bit. I like the 2 a little bit. So I think you hit on it, though. The 3 is definitely one to watch here.
Yeah, I like that we get Hernandez aboard as well. Contreras, not a bad jockey, but Hernandez, one of the best up there at Woodbine. Another one that I liked at a price, just wanted to bring it up real quick. Not as high as I am on the 3, but what about the 6 Full Extreme? Any interest there? You mentioned the 2. This one lost by half length to the 2 last time. This horse is 6 for 15 at the distance with 4 additional places. So in the exact 10 out of 15 times, and 6 for 18 at Woodbine as well. I don't like this one as much as the 3, but I think at 12-1, it's another underneath horse if you're playing the supers or the try.
It's really strange how we are so much alike on this race at Woodbine of all places. Yes, I have the 6 and 4th, and I'm going to play a 4 over 236 try in this race and just hope it kind of balloons with some of these prices. Listen, if I like the 2, I'm going to like the 6. Was right there with the 2 last time out. Ran a pretty good race. They all kind of finished in a group there, and you could definitely flip flop those 2 either way you look at it. Yeah, I like the 6 a lot here. A tough runner in these races. At Woodbine, all kinds of experience over this track. So I would look out for the 6 in the spot.
So quick question for you. This is kind of off the cuff. Right? Do you care about when horses win at Woodbine? Because you have Woodbine is a track up in Toronto, obviously. So weather involved. You have snow up there sometimes. It gets colder in the winter. It's a little bit warmer in the summer. Do you ever look at, hey, did they win in December? Did they win in January? Or are you looking mainly for just wins over that specific track?
I think it means a lot more when they win like April through the summer. I think right now it kind of gets a little bit mundane where, some of those horses have kind of shipped out and already went up to Gulfstream. You'll see a lot of Woodbine runners now at Gulfstream because of that synthetic surface. I think it's easier to win a race up there right now than it is during the summer. Let's put it that way. Yeah. So it does make a difference to me. Unless, like I said, it's Woodbine synthetic and now we're down at that Gulfstream synthetic. That usually translates pretty well. But yeah, overall, I don't take as much, credence in these races that are going on at Woodbine right now.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how summer Woodbine winners do at Gulfstream Park in the winter, especially with that synthetic track now kind of more cut in. So you're seeing less bias there. I'm interested to see what happens when you have those horses making that move down there. All right, let's jump over to the best bets of the day here. We'll start out with Papa Dude's bet, and I'm going to cover Iowa real quick. He likes Iowa coming off a big win, playing at home today. Should be able to get it done, and he's parlaying it with the Seahawks, taking plus 145 on the money line on these 2. Aaron, we'll jump over to your best bet here because you're using the Seahawks, so I'll let you talk about that one.
I think he played the Titans, didn't he?
I had Seahawks.
No, he's got the Titans, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, Titans over Jags. I had the Seahawks.
All right. Never mind then. But
I do have the Titans as well. That's where you got confused.
Yeah. All right. There you go. So he likes the Titans too. Aaron, so do you. You want to talk about that one?
Yes. So the Titans game, it's like this. They really need to win this game. Not for the division. They've got that locked up. But they need to win as far as kind of getting a better playoff seed, things like that. They've also lost 2 games in a row. So they need to win today. They're at home against the Jaguars. You kind of talked about the Jaguars last week. They're banged up. They've had a disappointing season. They've not played very well as of late. We both just kind of think the Titans are going to get the job done here. So both of us on the Titans. He likes Iowa. Do you want me to go ahead and talk about the Seahawks now for my half?
Sure.
All right. So I've got the Titans as well in my money line parlay. I paired them up with the Seahawks. It's kind of a similar situation. I looked at the Titans game and the Seahawks game almost exactly alike. Seahawks lost, not last week, but the week before. They're chasing San Francisco right now. They've got to try to keep pace with them to try to win the division. They got to keep winning, even if they don't win the division, to get in the wild card. They host Carolina today. What's Carolina even? Where are they at mentally? Who knows? I just think it's a good spot for the Seahawks. Both these lines were only 3.5, depending on when you look, where you look. So that's why I thought, boy, you money line parlay these. You buy those points, you get plus money on it. I thought it made a ton of sense. So Titans, Seahawks for me.
Yeah, Titans scares me a little bit because they're missing their wide receiver. Concussion protocol. He's not going to play today. And you have injuries. Tannehill's banged up a little bit, but you also have Lawrence who's banged up as well on the other side. So that game, I feel like you could have some pretty crazy variance there just because of what's going on there. Seahawks, I like them laying the points today. You missed the key cap of this. Sam Darnold is playing on the road. It's playing in Seattle. And Sam Darnold is awful. Okay. And if you go back and watch, he wasn't bad last week. They didn't have to throw the ball last week. It was not an issue for them. Now we're flying across the country, and Sam Darnold is playing in Seattle, which is one of the loudest stadiums in the NFL. No thanks. I want no part of Sam Darnold. I do not want to bet Sam Darnold. If Sam Darnold beats me, then so be it. I'm happy to lay it with the Seahawks today in that case, because no thanks. All right, jump over to my best bet of the day. Give me the fish, baby. Laying the 3 points here. Playing on Sunday night against San Diego. This is a great spot, and it looks like a terrible spot on paper, but it's a great spot. Look, this San Diego defense, comparatively to the San Francisco defense they faced last week, is like comparing a big old cheese pizza that's absolutely delicious to eating out of the trash. It is that difference, because this San Diego defense is awful. I'm talking about awful. Miami's going to be able to score at will in this spot. They get one of their 2 offensive tackles back. And sneaky like this, San Francisco basically patented hey, we want to play both our East Coast games back-to-back. And Shanahan took them to a retreat every week. There was team bonding. They always played better in that second game. I believe they're 5-0 against the spread in that second game. You know what Mike McDaniels did this week? Took the team down to LA. They had a nice little retreat together, never came back to the East Coast. They're completely focused on this football game, which they really need. They're getting healthy. They're playing a bad defense. And shockingly, the Chargers' yards per play is like 22nd in the NFL. Their offense actually isn't that good. So I think the Dolphins are able to run it up here. I think they're going to win by double digits. I'll lay the 3 with Miami tonight.
I like it. I think both teams are needing the win about equally as much. And I think that is kind of the kicker, because you look at this and you go, gosh, LA, they've got to win tonight. You know what? The Dolphins, to have a realistic chance to make a run, they've got to win tonight. They cannot fall down to like a 5 or a 6 seed. They're going to get out. This is a huge game. They've got to try to keep pace with the Bills and make that game in Buffalo really mean something here in a couple of weeks. So I like the pick. I was on the Dolphins as well. It's just one of those things. Do the Chargers ever really win in a big spot? I can't remember the last time they had. So I think it's a good pick. A bet against the Chargers usually works out.
I like the attitude there. Just bet against the Chargers. It'll be fine. It'll work out fine. Tyreek Hill over yards props as well. I think he's having a big game against the secondary, which is not all that good. So we'll see what happens there. Miami playing this Sunday night. So I would also, by the way, if you like the Dolphins, I'd bet this early in the day. I think this one's going to be 3.5 by kickoff. But you have 3.5s on some of the areas already on the board. This has been fluctuating between 3 and 3.5. And once especially the 4:00 games end, you're going to see everyone start betting the Dolphins -3 if it's available. So I like betting this now before we go to 3.5 a little bit later in the day. All right, let's recap the best bets here. After a wild 2-2 day, we'll take it. Still up $214 for the week. Papa Dude taking Iowa and the Titans in a parlay +145. Aaron taking the Titans and the Seahawks +130. I hate you both for making me watch Tennessee now. And I'm going to take the Dolphins -3 on Sunday night for the week. 7-6 up $214 for the year, down $64. Going to get that in the positive today. Thank you very much for joining us, everybody. Good luck with whatever you are betting, be it sports or horses. And we'll see everybody back on Wednesday at noon Eastern for more Dudes Who Bet Daily.